Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here live at 5 for a Sunday. I just couldn't wait any longer to come on, as in wait till tomorrow, because there's just a few things that are going on. But I did want to show you this little, I guess we can call it a nut or a seed or something from a tree. I posted a picture of it. Now it's mostly dried up now and the color has changed, but it was a beautiful bright green with these tips of dark red on it, and I took a picture of it, and what I didn't know when I picked it was that it really does look like the cartoon of a coronavirus. And I want to say cartoon of a coronavirus. Why do I want to say cartoon of a coronavirus? Because that's really all we've seen of it. And do they really know what it looks like, or just using a cartoon good enough? And that's the thing about certain things that they just come up with, and they show you things. But I want to open. I actually looked it up. My uncle said to me, he says, "Oh, I saw your post, and boy, the freaky how much that looks like the picture, the cartoon pictures that we've seen of the CV." I wanted to open it up. I actually looked it up because when he talked about it, I have no idea what this is or where it's from or what the tree is, but I do now. So I looked it up the other night, and it's from a sweet gum tree. And the leaf is similar to the maple leaf, but not exactly. And it grows, yes, here it grows all the way down to southeastern U.S. It's a hardwood tree. It's used for different things. Beautiful colors. They do have many different sweet gum trees: yellows, oranges, reds. Very, very beautiful. I'm not sure what the leaves of this one are going to turn to, but it's not too far from here, so I could walk there easily in 20 minutes. But I thought it would. Apparently there's a couple of seeds inside, or a couple of nuts inside. And when I was tapping it, because it looks like some of the areas have opened up, there were some seeds that have come out. But this tree has been used. I'm going to look it up. I do have, I'll just go back onto Wikipedia and bring it up. But there's been a couple scenarios where trees were donated. They line some momentum. Oh, I know what it is. 9/11. That's it. Just popped into my head. 9/11. There was a number of these trees purchased and put up in the memorial space that's there at 9/11. That's what it's for. So very beautiful, beautiful trees. Anyway, I'll kind of talk, and then I'm just going to kind of see if my trusty screwdriver or whatever tools, and get it to open up here. But how is everybody? How is everybody doing? This should be interesting. Maybe it's not really a good thing to do live where you're trying to actually do something. But anyway, we'll figure it out. Maybe I need a hammer, but no, it's coming. It's coming. But what did I want to come on today and talk about? The keywords, the F words here. The idea that these facts that are coming out, and I'm going to go over the spreadsheet. I'm going to see if I can if I can't open this immediately, or not even immediately. It's making. Now, there's probably, well, I'm digging through to it, but it's probably gotten hard since I actually, oh, but it's got a smell to it. I can smell it. Anyway, I don't want to take my, okay, well, another day. If I can figure it out another day. Oh, good question, Aaron. I couldn't find any. I couldn't find anything about this sweet gum nut that was beneficial for our health. There was nothing listed on Wikipedia. I was going to search a little bit more for it as well. The thing was, I was going to see if it was edible, if there was any part of this or tree or whatever that was actually edible. And certainly animals. There's some animals that actually eat the seeds, the nuts, that when they open it. Wow, this is interesting smell. I'm not going to say it's a terrible smell. So there are some animals that do. Now, probably similar to acorns. I tried to make acorn flour here from the acorns that we actually have here in wherever I am, Toronto and Canada. But the acorns here have, they're very high in tannins. So when I made it as fine. It looked like flour, but it was so bitter. So not really the acorns that we would make flour with here. You'd really have to, I mean, if you were really starving, we probably could have it as, as that, but not really. So in opening this sweet gum, it almost seems like there's nothing inside. It's not like a beech nut or chestnut where you can tell what's in here. It's almost just white, very hard. So it was very, very dense inside. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it, but very, very dense. So just white. No separate, but it's almost has a pine. Yeah, almost like a pine smell to it inside. That's what it reminds me of when I eat the pine in the early spring, when the pine tips, they're usually in that very papery brown, the new spruce tips, the tips of the branches where they're growing some new, I want to call them leaves, but pine needles. Those are edible, and this smells very much like that. And that, although I mean it's not a coniferous tree, it's a deciduous tree that the sweet gum is, but hardwood, but very interesting. But anyway, a new tree I had not even heard about ever. So, oh, so you can make tea out of the seeds. Oh, cool. Tea out of the seeds, but I'm not sure where the seeds are. I'm gonna have to go and collect some more, and also Aaron do some more research on it as to where the seeds are. The things that came out when I shook it, and they're very, very small, very, very small. Maybe that's the tea. Maybe that's the part we can make the tea from. Anyway, just thought I would try and open it up at live and bring it up because I did have the beautiful photos. So when those spiky nut seed things there they looked very bright green with burgundy tips on, and they're just so beautiful, so beautiful. So I brought one. I had no idea it was going to dawn on me that it looked like the cartoon of the CV, but there you go. So let's get back into facts, because this is something I've been attuned to and talking to, which is one of the key things to point out is anytime there is any event going on and you've got these cumulative facts or numbers coming in, cumulative facts and numbers that kind of come in, the line is always going to show like it's going up, always going to show like it's going up. It's never ever going to come down. So when you think about the number of tests, if there's a cumulative there, now I'm going to bring up the Ontario. Actually, somebody sent me a short video. I'm going to post it up here as well so you can watch it. Just a short video, and this is specific to Ontario. But when it comes to looking at numbers, it's not too different. Like somebody asked me, I said, yeah, I did analytical work, and I'd look at commodities numbers, and I'd do tenders and just math. It's not too difficult once you have some sort of an idea on numbers that you can figure this stuff out. So the idea is, let me just bring up the case data here. So it's like Ontario data. And basically the status of the cases. So total cases 46,000. But what does that mean? Is that false positives? Well, we know those are positive cases, yes, but they're saying 50% of them are false. So we don't have any communication, from what I'm understanding, from the government or from the news or mainstream news, whatever you want to call it, on that kind of information. It may be asked as a question. Resolved deaths 2,800, and they've even said in the Ontario website that they increased it by 50% based on something they read in Europe. And what I've been learning is what they've read may very well be a very small study or something out of a newspaper, and that they're basing it on that. Why wouldn't they think fear would come into play when the number is bigger? Why do they actually have to make it bigger? Hospitalized 63. Now, how many people can fit in a hospital? And what did they do? Shut down all the hospitals so no other procedures can happen. 63 hospitalized, 23 in ICU, and 10 in ICU on a ventilator. Now, more importantly is actually this charts. So cases over time, that's cumulative, that's going to keep going up. And when it comes to daily new cases, there's not enough information here as to say how many tests have they been doing and where and all that. So it looks like it's going up, people, but if they're doing 3 times the amount of testing, and when it comes to the amount of false positives, just means, I've talked to this before, because the PCR test they're using is not even for infectious diseases. So all they have to do, it's almost like you're frying an egg. You'll leave it on a couple more seconds and it's burnt. You leave it on a little bit longer and there is a change in the way it looks. And it's the same with the results. If they do it a little bit longer, let's say I've heard them talk about spins, a spin another 1 or 2, you're going to get more positives. But my understanding from what I've read, companies have been highly questioned. They've changed things, closed things down. There's a number of lawsuits out there because they were false positives. And even the number of tests that they have said are not necessarily new people, or all new people from what I would gather, because some people were tested and then in the hospital tested 3 days later. So they have a positive, they have a negative, they have a positive, they have a negative, and so some people are being they're being tested multiple times. If that gives them, I think there's 6 million, the number over 6 million. So when we see something like a chart like daily deaths, let me just see if I can very quickly, technology is great. I'm going to put this in comments so you can actually look at it with me if you want. So I'll just put it down there. So one of the charts are daily deaths, and this is not cumulative, and which means then they're numbers that are of that particular day. They're not being added on. And if you can see here, when we think of deaths, now remember, deaths were increased by 50% due to some communication that was over in Europe that there may be 50% less reported cases, as in people have it, they don't know they have it, but we're not testing and all that kind of scenario. So daily deaths is here, and of course daily deaths also included the probables, not the ones that were tested, but the probables that died with COVID, and that seems to be a lot of, as they did from the CDC, 6% are the ones that only had COVID and not with any morbidities. Now, I'm always questioning, and I'm thinking 6%, could those have been some of the accidents they didn't have? There was, a child who had an accident on a horse or something. No, she didn't have any morbidities, but she was counted as a COVID. The parents were livid, and they actually put it out there in the news. So was that counted still in the 6%? So it's very difficult for me to actually understand absolutes here when we look at these numbers. But you can see that, one death. So we're continuously in lockdown for what second wave, what cases. Everybody was well aware when they moved to cases from deaths, because there's not the issues happening. And we're back again in fall and cold season. And why do people get colds? They get colds because their system is stressed out. So you go without a coat on outside, the system gets stressed out, and you catch a cold. You don't catch a cold from somebody else. You catch a cold because your system is run down. And this is why we would tend to get some of these things. Viruses is really something that's in nature. I was asking questions to people lately that is there anything in nature that was built its sole purpose to harm us? Nothing. Nothing. You can answer that too. I guess I answered because I'm talking to a camera here. But comparing active and hospitalized cases, again, we got to be careful with certain, these facts and numbers. Comparing hospitalized and in ICU cases, you can see like poof, down, down, down. We're still very much in the down level. Yet they're threatening. I won't say. Yeah, I did say threatening. To further, lock down again. This is the fear in that. So as time goes on here, we can absolutely see that what I'd be really curious, and if any government or anybody's watching this video, is of the 300 or 400 new cases, were they asymptomatic? That's what I'd like to know. If they're asymptomatic, were they in the hospital? I guess that's probably the two things. Asymptomatic and hospitalized. Those are the two things. And I don't know if that even exists, that they're actually identifying that. All I'm hearing is if you have tested positive, you've got to go into quarantine. So you can imagine if 50% are false positives, this is shaking up a lot of people's worlds, which in the sense that, if there's other family members working, or heck, if they're working and going into work to make money, that would be crazy, absolutely crazy for the people that would be affected by that false positive. So 50% are false positives, and they had 400 cases, and that's clearly 200. And it's always worth remembering, the positive cases may be people who have already had it, been susceptible to it, maybe had it for some reason, and they were asymptomatic, didn't know they had it, and it's dead virus. So remember, the virus itself is not in its whole form when we're doing these tests. Even if you forget about the fact that this test is not even for infectious diseases at all. It's just to copy certain pieces of DNA, let's say. The other side of it is when they are getting these tests, the people don't understand that could it live or be dead? It could be dead. It could be dead material that's just floating around in the system, ready to be taken out or eliminated at some point. I've also heard, just to remind everybody, that if you get your flu shots, some of what's in the flu shots, and I've had this confirmed by doctors and nurses, that there's also coronavirus in there, bits and pieces of it. So the idea is to be armed with all this information. And I'm not in a position where I actually need to get tested. I'm not going to get tested for the fun of it, for this whatever. No. So like they said earlier, if you think you have symptoms, get tested. But what they're doing is they're testing people who have to, like one of my neighbors, bring their mother or move her back to her home because she was here at her daughter's house for a few months. In order to bring her home, she had to get tested and be confirmed, whatever the test results back, in order to be able to move her mother in. She was negative, so there you go. But there are healthy people needing to take the test for whatever reason, and this is where the caution comes in for those people who get a false positive. Not sure how they're working those things out, other than I've heard about the lawsuits. But that's that. I'm going to put that link down so you can take a peek. Again, anything that's cumulative is going to look like they're rising. It's going to look numbers, of course, and it's going to keep going up. Absolutely. Until they stop testing. But even then, until they stop testing, then you'll get a flat line. It'll never come down. Never come down. So there's several charts there. Look at them and take a peek. And this should knock some of the fear away for those people who are still trying to figure this out or still very, very fearful. Yeah, and the reason why I say freedoms is because at the end of the day, there's something going on, because nothing made sense from day one, to me anyway. And I mean, I'm just saying, looking at from my own perspective, that it seemed fishy, another great F word, right from the get-go. And that's where I started to search and listen to what other people were saying. Wasn't taking it as absolute, but it just didn't make sense that the P word was used so quickly, and just the push for things to happen, that didn't seem right either. And then the numbers weren't even there from the beginning. They've never come about, but yet there's so much fear because it's about, well, it could rear up again. Well, don't we understand that when we have certain things come about, they usually fall off. They usually fall off. The whole second wave thing sometimes does happen because it kind of moves around, but slowly. Doesn't move around like this. So it's, in some ways, it's no our science, no our math, and no our history, all wrapped up in one, and then question, because there are definitely information out there that is another nice, lovely F word, false, where you have organizations that are orchestrated by, let's say, the companies, the corporations, and they are all in bed with, the education system, the research system, the media system. All of these systems are linked, and you can find that out. So when there's that happening, you really gotta buckle down. Just can't believe everything that you're being told. You have to understand where it's coming from, who owns this, who is this person reporting it. But I think what's kept me grounded, and could keep everyone grounded here, is that in nature there is not anything that's natural purpose is to kill people. That just doesn't exist. And humans in nature has to respect nature for what, and if we just stick with the main elements, for what they are. Don't stand up on the cliffs of Moher in Ireland next to the cliff when at any point in time there may be, I don't know, an 80-kilometer wind can come up, and that's partially the reason for a number of the accidents where they go over the cliffs, is that they get blown. I mean, there's a lot of bit of rain there, so they're actually wearing raincoats, and they can be like umbrellas, I guess, and push them, and people want to stand as close to the cliff as possible, but that's the majority of them. So we have to respect and understand. But the wind wasn't created to kill people. See the difference? And viruses are the same thing. And I love talking about this because we need to understand that bacteria, once upon a time, bacteria was thought as all bad, germs, bad, snakes, spiders, bad. But the idea is that if we understand them better, we soon grew to know, oh, well, there's good bacteria. You got as much bacteria in your body as you do cells, that kind of thing. But I want to put out there that there's no bad bacteria anyway. And the example I usually use is Semmelweis, to do with the bacteria that was being delivered by the doctors when they were working on dead bodies and then going to deliver a baby. So you got dead over here, live over here, different bacteria. This bacteria over here is meant to break down the body, decompose the body. And the bacteria over here is life living, the different bacteria. So we have to understand that human error was really about what the Black Plague was all about. It was human error. It was not thinking that you could, thinking that you could live in a very condensed area with a lot of people and throw your excrement out the window. I can't remember, but there's a saying they used to call, and there was this hour, 7 or 8 o'clock, something like that, when everybody would do the same thing. They would do all the same. So you don't want to be in those alleys. Were quite narrow. You wouldn't want to be walking around in an alley at that hour. But the idea is understanding environment and understanding nature. That I don't believe the viruses, as they're teaching us, is to actually be fearful of them. That we've been made fearful as a reason, as an excuse to take certain things, an excuse to be fearful, excuse to have the vaccines. And this is where I am at with it, that viruses, they have a purpose in our body to eliminate. And this is not my book. So I'm not bringing it up because of my book. I'm bringing it up because a couple of other doctors spoke to about. But in my book, the doctor of 100 years ago who wrote a book that I studied, talks to that the vaccines are inhumane. And other doctors today talk about the vaccines as actually being not all wrought with what they're good for and all of that. So if we have an excuse, then there's the reason why people go, well, we need it, don't we? You know, it's like the problem, reaction, and then solution scenario that David Icke's been talking about. Probably existed that way anyway for as long as it existed. But just to get back to nature, viruses are natural. Bacteria, germs, and they have their purpose. And in our body, when we're run down, we will tend to have the flu and we'll tend to have the cold, but it's not because we catch it, if that makes any sense. Now, it's not black or white here, but the idea is I just want to get across some simplicity in this thing. So what's going on is a very good question. Is there a reason to mass vaccinate people? Is that really the only reason, that they're going to make X billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, and then they're always going to have that held over our head for the number of people that are going, oh my God, we're not going to be able to do anything until the vaccine comes out? It's because they don't understand. So at the end of the day, I'm going to remind everybody, and this was the issue around conversing about vaccines for the last several years with people, everybody wants to be safe. In fact, the fear of death pushes everybody to want to be safe, okay? So the fear of death, the fear is the actual underlying thing. Nobody wants to die, and they don't want anybody that they love die. And it's the fear of death that pushes people to be whatever path they kind of go down to be safe, to be healthy. And I'm just saying that if we see all of that for what it is, everybody wants the same thing. They want to be healthy. They don't want to die. They want to be safe. It's just that some people think that this over here is going to make that happen when it has never done so. That is more discussion when it comes to polio, of course. The cases of polio now in Africa, posted that article before, has nothing to do with polio. It has to do with the polio vaccine. The cases that are left now in Africa have to do with the vaccine itself. That's fact. You can look that up in that one. I'm not going to put that out there. But that's really it. Facts, freedoms, and fears. And we just have to focus on one thing, people, is, I'm presenting information here so that you can go and look and see for yourself. It's a way for you to come into peace and relax, a more comfort level, and anybody with less fear. That's first and foremost on top of my mind for speaking out about any of this and trying to tie some things in together and to point out certain things, is so that we can be more at peace with whatever this is going on. So behind the scenes, some people know that they're focusing on getting this straightened out. They're focusing on the human rights. They're focusing on the laws. Because when I say human rights, some people will get all upset, human rights, because there's a lot of fear on this virus, which there doesn't need to be. Okay? The vulnerable need to look after themselves, not just now, not just 3 months ago. Last year, last 10 years, forever and a day, the vulnerable need to take care of themselves. And it ain't going to change going forward for all the reasons they become vulnerable, is really where us as people, the masses of people, the people need to come to, because the way we have been going is nothing to do with our health. It's everything to do with controlling our health, making money. Very simple. Making money and controlling. That's really it. Is there shades of gray here? Absolutely. Is there a lot of good people, even as doctors, even as people in these positions that where they are highly regulated? And yes, there absolutely are. I'll call it the bosses. So who's the bosses? Who's the bosses of Trudeau? Who's the bosses? Seems like there's a boss. And I understand from being in food processing that the lobbyists can be bossy. Bossy. That's what I'll call them. They can be bossy, and people can be bossy, and the people with lots of money can be bossy, and make things, make things. Of course, they have to do it secret, because if they didn't do it secretly, then the people would know too much and stand up, and they would say things, and it just, we would be in a different place. But so many things go on secretly and behind closed doors, and through legal language and all of this, that the average person doesn't really know how the government system works, doesn't know how the financial system works. We're not taught that in school. Maybe it will be. Health's not taught in school. What would they pick? Food guide? That was created by lobbyists, right? So that the dairy board, who first initiated, or at some point was part of it, could get milk on there. I'm not down on milk. I drink raw milk myself, but it's quality that makes a huge difference. So was there anything else? Yeah, there was one thing I want to talk about, actually. So let's just put that over to the side over here and get into something very, very interesting. I'm only bringing this up. Why am I going to be bringing this up? I'm actually going to set the stage here as to why I'm bringing this up. If we think about our focus, focus is a good word, but focus with the blinders on. We're all focused on this event. We're all focused on similar to this event, which is what this conversation has been mostly about. But what if there are other things going on that we don't really read about? We really, it's not mainstream media. It's out there because I'm going to post it. And one of the things is I'm going to post it here. Ex-Pentagon official off-world vehicles have been found. And again, right off there, but I'm going to read this. New York Times. But there's been a number of, a number of outlets of news that have reported on this. So when I say these names, in this case, there's many that have. Despite Pentagon statements that it disbanded, secret, remember, they don't tell us everything, a once covert program to investigate UFOs, it was in fact renamed and tucked inside the Office of Naval Intelligence. So, outside of our blinders of just looking at this event, I just like to call it this event. I don't want new language that seems to roll off of everybody's tongue here. So, no longer in shadows. Pentagon's UFOs unit will make some findings. But over a decade, the program is now tucked inside. Intelligence discussed mysterious events in classified briefings. There's a lot more to do with this, and I'm going to just post it. But the idea is, I think many of us have questioned. And of course, we maybe watched Star Trek, which I have watched all through. It was a study. It was a big study to see what they were saying, because I had understood from even past presidents mentioning it that there were certain things that just were not being told to the general public. And some people have said, well, they couldn't handle it. What a bunch of BS. And maybe some of it's true. Some people wouldn't be able to handle everything. But the idea is, let's just take a deep breath here when we think of UFOs, because one of the things that they have done over the past, over the many, many years with Hollywood is they have depicted them as evil, want to destroy our world and things like that. So we've got to shed that first. So that's got to melt right out of our mind that that exists. So good or bad, indifferent, whatever it is, there may be some things out of this world that have better technology than we do, and perhaps they have known this for decades, as they said, keep it secret, and been trying to figure out things to their benefit. Maybe they secretly want to use it in whatever, spying, whatever they want. But I'll post it up there, but I think the bigger picture is we may be seeing more information coming out about these secret things, and you'll be able to see it and we'll be able to read it, but still question what is it that, or why are they telling us? If they're trying to put, no, why are they putting us into fear, that's BS, right? So if they're saying things that really gets you thinking that you're in fear, ignore that part. Ignore that part. Just let it go. But if they continue, whatever news media divulging these secret programs continue to divulge simple things about it, understand there's probably more where that came from, like the iceberg. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, and maybe they're just trying to gently unfold some things. I don't know. Seems like a lot of people have known a lot of things up to now anyway. The idea is just to keep it in your mind. So the focus really is to still keep calm, keep at peace, go have fun, live, and work with whatever, this kind of scenario, but don't take it too seriously. And most of all, we just got to be kind to each other and actually come together. Now, when I say come together, I run the walk club, and as I do in the beginning, we do a circle. Of course, the circle seems much wider with this 6-foot distancing. This is a big circle now, and I just say things to them, and I talked about some of these facts to them today, and said go look it up. You don't have to believe me, but the idea is in leading this group ongoingly, I've been able to see the different places that people go. And the key message is, let's work with each other or come together, is people have different comfort levels. So we don't want to jump in front of somebody who's all, masked and shielded up and go, boo, we don't have a mask on, right? That's a very silly way of portraying it, but that's the kind of idea. So there's people we don't know, and at the end of the day, we're not, when we mean coming together and being kind, we mean just understanding people are fearful for the reasons they are. They don't have all the facts. That's probably the simplest way to speak to it. So that's really it. I'm just going to end it up. I don't know if there's any questions, any comments, at any time, not just now, but even at any point. Look at the different videos and comment, and keep sharing your videos with me. Thank you very much. I really did like this news one. I'll have it here and I'll post it up there. And there you go. So that's it. So Live at 5 is really, it's really about more at this time of bringing people in a place of feeling more comfortable and at peace with the situation that's going on. Everything will work out. It's just understanding it and being here for each other, and at the end of the day, you got yourself, and that's who you look after first, is you look after yourself. Another great word, first. So you look after yourself first, and whoever you're responsible for, that's who you're going to look after. But bring some fun. Bring some fun into every day, and everything will be okay. I'm going to post the links below so that you have them and you can go look at them at yourself, especially the graphs. I really encourage everybody here, if you're watching this video, to look at the graphs yourself and to see what it looks like when it's cumulative. It's always going to go up, 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 up. And when certain of them are going to look they're going to look crazy, but we may not have enough information for it. And then the other ones you're going to see where it's just down, down, down. And it's still holding there, down, 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 down. So numbers matter, and how you look at them matter, and the inputs that are in matter too, which they're telling us what they're about, but I don't have all the facts for some, especially these cases. I would love to know how many of these 400 cases actually equated to asymptomatic or hospitalizations. And that's really the simple thing. So enjoy that and educate yourself, and we'll go from there. And we'll see you tomorrow live at 5 on Monday. One of the things I'll just mention quickly, just popped into my head. What I want to do is, and I may do a series of 2 or 3 for the next Wednesdays. I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. Is meet the author. It's just something fun. I'm going to bring certain things out of the book to share with you, and I'm just calling it Meet the Author. Obviously we can't greet each other, but maybe we can virtually greet each other, and so then I can bring up certain things out of the book. It'll be educational. You won't necessarily have to read the whole book, but the idea is to bring some education out of it. It's jam-packed with education, and who knows what kind of directions I'm going to go in, but it'll be a good opportunity to ask. It'll be a good opportunity for me to share what the book's about, because this is the key question I get from probably half of the people is, what is it about? It just, what is it about? And I want to share that, because what's in this book would bring everybody into more peace, because it actually ties in, even though I wrote it a couple of years ago. It's really going to tie into what's going on today, and what other things come up as to can drive fear. And that wonderful word inflammation is one of them. The other one's cancer. And all of this stuff, the key reason for writing the book was for people to understand the beauty of the body, the nature of the body, nature. And this is where, oh my God, it was one of the things every time I did a presentation, even doctors would say, you're going to go through this, Cheryl, because I want to hear it, or maybe they brought somebody with them, and I want you to speak to this, because it really helps to simplify. And the reason why I like about simplifying is it makes people feel comfortable, more relaxed, not crazy when they hear the word cancer, in fact, those kind of things. Anyway, very important information, very important, and I would have just promoted his book. I mean, it was 100 years ago. There's actually not a physical copy anyway with his research, but I wanted to add so much more to it, and even more language, and just to bring it into up to date, but really at some levels it doesn't have to be up to date, but the language can get a little tricky. So it was easier for me to speak on that front, and bring in other things that come into play that we're hearing about today. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Live at 5, all things healthy, moving forward. Have some fun, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5, perhaps Monday, live at 5. Take care. Bye, everyone.